Marvelous hello, friends and loved ones! How are you today? Do you all remember what your very first Megami Tensei game was? For some of you, maybe it was as recent as Persona 5. Maybe some of you played Digital Devil Saga, or any number of the 3DS games. Well, my first Megami Tensei game was an inconspicuous little Game Boy Advance game I bought on impulse back in 2003. My very first Megami Tensei game was DemiKids Light version. And then like a month later, I also picked up DemiKids Dark version.
Okay, well, technically, I think the first Megaton game I ever played was Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. I have super vague memories of playing that for a bit at a friend's house, but I'm not gonna count that, so for the sake of argument, this was my first. Okay, cool. Back in 1987, a video game franchise known as Megami Tensei was brought into the world. A franchise of games where a young protagonist has to recruit powerful monsters to fight for them. Megami Tensei would house a variety of other series, most of which followed this trend in one way or another. Devil Summoner, Persona, Devil Survivor, Last Bible, the list goes on. In 1996, a new video game franchise swept the world by storm: Pokémon. A franchise of games where a young protagonist has to recruit powerful monsters to fight for them. Despite Megaten coming nearly 10 years before Pokémon, it became something of a joke that Megaten was seen as the edgy, grimdark Pokémon. Instead of recruiting cute creatures with punny names, you collected majestic angels, powerful deities, and ferocious demons. Like this guy. Don't mess with him, because he'll eat your face off. But in the year 2000, Atlus decided to introduce a brand new series to the Megami Tensei franchise, and that series was known as Devil Children, with the first two games, Red and Black Book, being released for the Game Boy Color. Aside from already following Pokemon's version style of game releases, even the most die-hard of Megaten purists would find it difficult to claim this wasn't Atlus's response to Pokemon, which was hardly anything new from game studios in the years following Pokemon. The games focused on younger protagonists, a slightly more lighthearted story, and the demons were all redesigned to be cuter and more cartoony. Heck, they even released a third game called White Book in 2001. I'll confess though, since these games were never localized and they don't have a fan translation, they're actually a bit of a blank spot in my Megami Tensei repertoire. But the two games we did get over here were Devil Children Light and Dark Book, localized as DemiKids Light and Dark version in 2003. These were actually the first localized Megaten games to have the Shin Megami Tensei title on them. Unlike Pokemon though, where the two versions are essentially the same game with, let's be honest, mostly inconsequential differences, the DemiKids games are each one half of a full story, that both happen to take place at the same time. Each game has its own protagonist on their own journey throughout the same worlds, with a couple of neat instances of overlap. For example, in Dark version, there's a character you meet pretty early on who seems like an ally, but at a certain point in the story, players may notice he's just not there anymore. Well, that's because the protagonist of Light version finds out he's evil and kills him during that game. It's a really cool way to handle version differences and is something I'd love to see done more often. I'm going to discuss the introduction of both games, but this video is primarily going to be about Light version. I may do a video on Dark version another day, so if you'd all like to see that, feel free to let me know in the comments. The game opens up with the angelic Norn giving a speech about needing the powers of light and dark to save the universe before asking for our name. Unlike most Megaten protagonists, the two boys of Light and Dark version have canonical names and personalities. There's the rash, energetic Jin of Light version, and the calmer, more collected Akira of Dark version. Our main story begins by taking a page from Star Wars, as the world of Valhalla is being ruled by a being known as Imperious and his Imperium army. We're introduced to members of the Rebellion, which include another Demikid, Shin, and Amy, who is attempting to flee to our world to find the powers of Light and Dark, which the prophecy states is the only thing that can stop Imperious. Then cut to Jin at the arcade when his school chum, Lena, drags him to school where they meet up with Akira and Amy. So this is sort of what I mean by the two stories taking place together, because if you play Dark version, you actually get to see Amy's introduction to the school as a transfer student in Akira's class. Lena tells them all she found a book in the library that has a spell that can summon a demon. You know, like you do. When I was their age, I think I was more into those choose-your-own-adventure books. The spell does work, but unfortunately summons a demon from the Imperium army who tries to capture Amy and attacks Lena. Amy gives Jin and Akira a plastic gun from Target known as a Demi-Lock, and upon firing it at the demon, summon their personal demon partners. Jin gets the Soul Cat known as Rand, and Akira gets the rocks known as Gale. The two find out they are known as DemiKids, which are part human and part demon. As to how these kids are part demon, that's kinda swept under the rug. I mean, I know how I'd make a half-human, half-demon kid, but moving on. After defeating Gargoyle, the gang discovers a time rift has opened up in their world, and if they don't do something about it soon, their entire world will be destroyed. Amy takes Lena and Jin to her homeworld of Valhalla, while Akira winds up in the demon-ruled kingdom of Dem. But that's in Dark version, so I'm gonna stop talking about his journey for this video. Once in Valhalla, Jin ends up fighting off some members of the Imperium army, and meets other members of the rebellion. There's Shin, whom I mentioned earlier, and we also get to meet Judy, Guy, Naomi, and their leader, Drail. The only thing that can fix the time rifts are magical items known as time chains, so Shin and Lena travel to Dem to try and find some. Unfortunately, it turns out one of the rebels is a big fat traitor! They've been feeding information on the rebels to Imperious, so Shin's group gets attacked, and Lena winds up in the demonic prison known as Limbo. It's not all bad though, because when Jin goes to rescue her, and by the way, fails to do so, he is able to get some time chains from one of the inmates, and is able to fix the time rifts in the real world. Except while taking down one of Imperious's generals, Glaciabo, he learns the identity of the traitor. It's Drail, because of course it is, he's the one adult. This game was Persona 5 years before Persona 5'd all over the place. In an attempt to stop Drail, Jin finally enters the world of Dem, and quickly learns that their leader, Lord Lucifer, was murdered by Shin, and his, I guess basically his Jafar, Forlo, has taken over. And by his side is Gravir, who says this. Well fine, I didn't want to go out with you anyway.
Yes, I did. You know, make our own little half-human, half-demon demi-kid.
So, Forlo is clearly evil, and is responsible for manipulating Shin into killing Lucifer. But luckily for Jin, he is also very dumb, and lets Jin through the back door of the Dark Palace to the Orgel room where we meet Erd, Verdandi, and Skuld, the three Maidens of Time who control the past, present, and future. They offer to send Jin back in time to right before Lucifer was killed, which will allow us to change the past because why the heck not? We learn that Drail has convinced Shin to kill Lucifer in order to gain the powers of light and dark, because that's the only thing that can stop Imperious. But since Lucifer refuses to give those powers to anyone besides the DemiKids from the prophecy, Shin kills him in an attempt to get the powers for himself. But thanks to the Time Maiden, Jin shows up in the nick of time, and is able to protect Lucifer, fight off Shin, and even kill Forlo for good measure.
Also, I know this is a little weird for Megami Tensei, but like, Lucifer is not evil. At all. He is apparently just the fair, benevolent, and respected ruler of the Kingdom of Dem. Good for him!
Lucifer sends Jin out to the east, to the Frost Temple, in order to find the answers we'll need in order to get the power of light.
That's west, Patrick.
But all we end up doing is finding Drail, who reveals that he betrayed the rebellion after being captured by Imperious, and realizing he is unstoppable, and then Shin, I think, straight up kills him. I don't even think it's implied he used his demons to do it. I think Shin just killed a man. Many people say this story is a more lighthearted Megaten tale, and it definitely is, but it does make those dark moments seem even darker when you realize most of these characters are like 12. I mean, Shin just murdered a dude, and also Lena got executed because she was sassy and sassed off to Imperious. I mean, good for her, but she is dead. Bummer. But in the basement of the Frost Temple is a portal back to the Time Tower, where we basically started the game in. So now we can visit Dem in the past and grab a letter from one of the two DemiKids that created the world of Valhalla, Lord Light, addressed to Lucifer. And also grab a time key, which allows us to fix as many time rifts as we want, and also handle those pesky bigger time rifts that are around. So we bring the letter back to Lucifer, and he agrees to help us get the power of light. But now we have to go to the exact same temple, this time in the present, and grab a different letter. And to get to this one, we must go through the Desert of Conveyor Belts. We eventually get Lord Light's letter, fight an Imperious general that looks like a talking soy sauce bottle, and meet up with Shin, who tells us to meet Akira in the town of Elysium. We find Akira and agree that it's time to take down Imperious once and for all. Lord Light and Dark Lord both show up and have a friendly chat that I guess our boys can't see or hear, but we finally go to Imperious's castle, fight our way through, and come face to face with MPO and Emperor, the light and dark halves that make up Imperious. This is the fiend that has ruled over Valhalla with an iron fist. This is the monster that had Lena executed. And why? Why?
That is the stupidest reason I have ever heard.
Luckily, Jin agrees with me, and uses his powers of light to defeat the Dark Warrior, MPO. But, of course, that's not grand enough, so we also have to fight the time-eating, rift-causing super monster that was controlling Imperious the entire time, Quasir. This thing is actually a pretty good final boss fight, and even has multiple forms. Except, I'm not entirely sure what determines when and why he changes forms, so at a certain point in this fight, I actually thought he was just glitching out a bit. But we do eventually destroy him. DemiKid, we shall meet again. And we never saw him again. Now, peace and order should be restored throughout the three worlds, all thanks to Jin and Akira. Lord Light and Dark Lord reappear to thank us, and are even nice enough to use their bullcrap time magic to bring Lena and Amy back to life. Oh yeah, Amy died. We didn't get to see that part. Lord Light actually gives you a choice between New Game Plus or just playing the post-game stuff, which is what I chose to do for this playthrough. In the post-game, you'll gain access to the Old Tower Dungeon to get new demons, and you can even see what other characters are up to now. Like, Shin has decided to live peacefully in the underground village of Onwin, though he's concerned that something terrible is about to happen. Almost as if he's laying the groundwork for a sequel.
But that can't be right, because we never got any sequels. Did we, Atlas USA?
And that's basically the plot of DemiKids Light version. Like I said, Dark version has its own details that have it intertwined with Light, but overall, I think the story is simple yet enjoyable. You're not going to get that same level of character development as in other titles, but it did a pretty nice job with what it had. Of course, that's just the story, so let's focus a little bit on the finer details like the gameplay and design of it all. So, the first and most obvious thing people are going to notice is the far more cartoony style of the demons themselves. What's also fun, though, is certain demons keep their traditional names, like Anubis or Loki! But then you've got ones that just have Pokémon names. I mean, who wants to use Yamato no Orochi when instead you can have Octorex? Something I find really weird is that some of the sexier demons in the series actually seem more adult in DemiKids. I mean, just compare their succubus to ours and wow.
Also, just throwing this out there, these games got away with an E for everyone rating. Okay.
Unlike most other games in the franchise, your protagonist, Jin in this case, doesn't fight. You'll always have Rand in battle, and whatever demons are in your Demilock will take up the second party member spot. Pretty early on in the game, at the Rebel hideout, you'll get a Kinglock, which will allow you to have up to 3 demons out at once, including Rand. Any demon can be placed in the Kinglock, but certain more powerful demons can only be placed in the Kinglock. So it's important to consider this when you're assembling your party. Battles are done in a first-person view, which is pretty standard for the franchise. You can use traditional attacks, magic, which uses MP, or skills, which use HP. Again, if you've ever played a Megaton game, this probably sounds pretty familiar to you. Whenever you win a battle, you'll get money, known as Maka, and experience points. However, experience points don't level up your demons, they only level up Jin himself.
Your DemiKid level determines what demons you can actually use, which is any demon no more than 5 levels above yours. Like many other Megaten titles, rather than capturing demons, it's all about negotiating with them to recruit them to your team. The system to do this is both really simplistic, but does have some cool extra touches. Basically, you just choose which of your demons will talk to the demon you want to recruit, and choose one of 2 randomized methods of conversation, such as friendly, threatening, etc. And then, cross your fingers. Getting a positive result in this game basically feels like flipping a coin, and even if you get that positive emoji, there's no telling how they'll react. Some will just join you, some will demand items or money, and some will just heal you and end the battle right then and there. That said, I do like a couple of the touches this game has to make the process of negotiation easier. Certain demons do seem to have personalities and respond better to certain conversation types, but your odds of success go up with different factors, like how much stronger your demon is compared to them, or if your demon is the same type of demon as they are, as unlike most other Megaten titles, nothing in DemiKids stops you from having more than one of the same demon. And like in other titles, you can fuse your demons together to get newer and stronger ones for your team. Though I would like to point out that the 2 demons you see here, the ones that were more than capable of taking down the final boss with minimal effort, yeah, one of them I got within the first hour of the game by completing this quiz game, and the other I simply bought from the casino, so if you don't feel like constantly fusing demons, you know, there are other options. And if you've got both games and a handy-dandy link cable, you can even trade demons with Dark version, or even fuse demons from both games together to try and make something new. After fusing demons, you'll typically get the option to inherit up to 3 moves from the demons you fused, which is super useful. I also recommend always having at least one demon with the spell Teleport, which essentially acts like Fly in the Pokémon games, and lets you warp to any city or major area you've already been to. Or just stock up on angel wings at the shop. Either way, that quick travel is fantastic. At certain points throughout the story, Rand will feel his body going through some changes. His voice will get deeper, he'll learn new spells, and there may be things on his body that weren't there before. What forms Rand takes is actually this game's equivalent of the Law or Chaos alignment, or perhaps more accurately, a light and dark system. The choices you make when Rand transforms will affect his appearance and the abilities he gets, with the top choice being light and the bottom choice being dark. Since this is light version, I typically pick all of the top options with Rand and all of the bottom options with Gale when I play dark version. These changes will make him stronger, but Rand will quickly become your weakest demon if you don't raise him properly. In order to do this, you have to fuse him. See, each demon in the game is worth so many experience points, and when you fuse them onto Rand, he'll get a small stat boost as well as those experience points, and honestly, this is probably my least favorite part of the entire game, because it means the only way to make Rand not useless is to do what I call fodder grinding, where you have to just recruit demons for the sole purpose of fusing them onto Rand. But when you recruit a demon, you don't get any experience for Jin or any money. So basically you have to do 2 separate forms of grinding in order to level both Jin and Rand up, and it can get a little tedious at times. I think this game would have been a lot better if Rand just leveled up as Jin did. Something I genuinely love about this game though are the number of demons that you can get through special side quests. There's Oberon, who you can find traveling around the world, and once he's done, he'll join up with you. The Time Maidens that you can recruit after beating the main game. Raycon, who is just kind of sitting there, literally, you just have to talk to it. The old tower bosses, who will join you after you defeat them. Skyfish, who's hiding out in the mines in Valhalla. Roxor in Dem, who will only join you if you have Skyfish in your party. So many more, and even 5 super special secret hidden demons that will only join you if you say the magic words. And just what are these magic words? Well, for that, you'll have to consult your copy of Nintendo Power issue 175. Which I just so happen to have a copy of right here. Or you could just use the internet. Like a normal person, and that would also tell you where to find these demons, because this doesn't. Why did I buy this? Oh, hey, sweet, Sonic Heroes poster.
Is DemiKids an amazing game? Not really, but it is a good game. And even when I first played it, before I really knew what Megaten was, it stood out to me as a memorable title. And revisiting it for this video just reminded me it's still an enjoyable ride.
I will always have a soft spot for this little RPG. I mean, like I said, it was basically my introduction to Megami Tensei over 15 years ago, and hopefully I've encouraged some of you to take a look at this often forgotten piece of Megaten history. Now, if you'll all excuse me, I have some Kirby Air Ride to read up on.